Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what we're going to be doing is talking about how to pass data around in Vue. So basically, um, data component communication. Always a big issue when you're working on Vue, React, Angular, Svelte. It's just like, how do I get information from one component to the next? Um, Always, oftentimes, sort of the biggest thing we have to spend our time thinking about. So let's see here. What we're going to do is we're going to open up this my Scratch folder in Terminal, and I'm going to use my Merced spin-up library to spin up a new Vue project, because then the template I have there has the router already ready to go, so we can practice how to work with router 2. So npx Merced spin-up, it's the Vue template, and we're just going to call this practice. Okay, so there's the folder practice. I'll cd into the folder. Okay, cool. Let's install the stuff. npmi. Cool. And let's do this. Scratch. Nope, no practice. Let's do an npm run serve, so that way the oh yeah, it's wait. No, that should be right. I'm missing script server. Oh, I did server. npm run serve. You can tell I literally just woke up 2 minutes ago. Cool. So let's get that to that side. Let's get this to this side. And let's take this website to localhost. That's on 8080. Okay, and we got this like sort of default view, no pun intended. Okay, and then I'm also going to open up the dev tools. So again, each of these frameworks have their own sort of set of custom dev tools. Here's the Vue dev tools. They all pretty much work the same. You can see all the different components that make up your project. If you click on any individual one, you can see the information, the state inside that particular component. This makes it really much easier to debug, because then you can take a look at what's information is inside your component. Okay, in a Vue project, everything starts with your app component, and same thing with React, same thing with everything else. It's always starting with app. I'm not going to worry about ESLint right now. Okay, so first off, let's just put some data in our component. So again, in Vue, in the script tag, we always have to export an object, and that object that's exported is that particular component's sort of Vue instance. It has all of its data, its methods, all that stuff. So let me just create a data thing, and the way data is created is always a function that returns an object, and that object holds our data. So we'll say hello, and inside hello is the string world. Okay, now what is it complaining about? Oh, I put return. It should be just return. There we go. But now if I look inside app, so if I go inside the DevTools app, and I look inside data, see we have this property called hello world. Or the property is called hello, the value is world. Very nice, okay? So we have this information. Now what I would like to do is pass it to this header component, okay? So notice the header component is directly rendered in this component's template. Okay, the template is what you see when you see this component. So when app is always the first thing to render, so what we see on the screen is really app. And you notice we see we have this header here. Okay, that's really this header component here. So if I see directly under app, app creates header. Okay, so when you see this, like this, that's a child of app and is directly rendered by app. Home is not. Home is this middle part. This is rendered by a router view. So that's a router rendered view. Okay? Because there's going to be a difference in how we send information down to header versus how we send information down to home. Okay. So essentially, this is how we should do this. Okay. So if I want to send data down to header, I would use a prop. Okay, a prop, whether it's React or Vue, is the same thing. It's a piece of information sent via the tag. Okay, because again, we access our components via HTML-like tags. So we'll say here, hello equals world, or actually equals cheese. So now I send this down. If I go now take a look at header, see header now has hello cheese. But notice it doesn't have it as part of its data object. Instead, it's in this separate object called attrs for attributes. The reason is because I didn't specify a prop, so it ends up going into this object, attrs. If I would like it to be part of my normal data object, I have to go back to header. So let's go to components, header, and I have to specify the prop. Okay, so I go back over here. We'll say we create a props, and then in there we're going to create an array and say that we expect there to be a prop called hello. So now when I look in header, okay, notice hello has shifted over from the $attrs variable to props. It'll be accessible either way, but you know, this is just a more conventional form. Okay, so I have to specify the prop for it to be received as props. If not, then it goes into attrs. So the difference is just, would I be able to go, props would be accessed like this.hello, just like my other data variables. It'd be like this.hello, this.whatever, while attrs, I'd have to be like this.$attrs dot the thing. Okay, and again, I am assuming some level of familiarity with Vue as I go through this video. Cool. So that's how I send data down. So but the thing is that I didn't actually send, I just sent arbitrary data down from app to header. Okay, so let me go back to app. What if I want to send specifically the property from data, this version of hello, to header? If I want to do that, then I have to use vbind. Okay, vbind always will bind a particular attribute of a tag to your data. So I do vbind hello, and then here instead of specifying the value, I'm specifying which data variable I want to bind it to. So I want to bind it to hello. Cool. And now when I go look in header, I see props is hello world. Okay, see it matches what I have in app. So when I change it in app, it'll automatically change in header. Okay, they're bound. Cool. Neat. Okay, and then we have this little menu here. So you see, I can transfer between these two pages. Actually, right now, I think it's going between, yeah, there's a page 2. So in this page 2, what I want to do is pass data onto that. The problem is app doesn't render page 2. Okay, it shows up on app because there's router view component, which renders whatever route based on this URL up here. But the thing that triggers the route is this router link in components. So header, let's find the router link, page 2. So see, this router link component is what triggers the change of page. So that's where I have to send information. And the way we do that is we send an object to this to property. This to tells us where we're going. Okay. So what we'll do here is we'll still use quotation marks, but instead we'll pass an object. And then here we're going to still specify the path, except the path will be its own property in that object. The path will be, again, slash, I think it was page 2 with a capital P. And then we have to specify a query property. And the query is we'll use that kind of like we use props, where we send information down. Because again, there's no way for me to directly send props down to that component because that component never actually shows up on the template. We just see router link and router view. Router link is what says, hey, we're going to do this. Whatever view that triggers, send it this information. So we're going to send it this query. Okay, and then the query will make an object. Actually, we'll just, query. We'll send an object that it's going to include a hello property, and that's going to equal this dot hello because it equals this component's hello property. Cool. So now when I go to page 2, okay, because that's home, okay, see in the data object there's this route object. That's data from the router. And in there, we see a query object. That's data from the query from the router link that got you to that view. And in there we find nothing. It's empty at the moment. So something, let me think here, query. Router link. Well, let me just see here. I think we need to re-click the link. So home, about page 2. Nope, that's not page 2. Info, is that page 2? Let me refresh the page. Okay, none of those are links. Where is this link? About. About's supposed to be this link. Oh, but it's not working. I see. Okay, so we need to fix this. So since the router path isn't working in this format, I'm going to use the path name. So the difference is, to use the path name, I have to go back to the router file to look up what we named this particular route. So page 2, we called it page 2. That's the name. So that's what I have to use as the name. So let's go back to header. I'm going to change this to page 2 as the name. Okay, and then we hit save, and then let's try this again. So I hit about. Okay, so there it changed the URL. And we have a props name default. That's not what we expected. I think it's just supposed to be page 2 without quotation marks then. Okay, let's go back. Let's refresh the page. Then let's click on about 2. Let's see here. Name. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be. Let's just automatically lowercase, is it? Page 2. Okay. Oh, something else. Here we go. There's the home view. Router link to name. What am I not seeing? Name, user. Let's make this bigger. Router link to name, page 2, query. Router. Yeah, so this should be uppercase P page 2. And let me just make sure that I'm looking at the right thing here. Home. Yeah, hit save. And then I'm going to head over to the browser, refresh the page. And this link should take me to page 2. And again, if I just make this slash page 2, it'll work, but then there's no query. Or it just stopped working. Unless I'm clicking on the wrong about, but I think that's the right about. Yeah, see, now it's suddenly working. Let me think about that. Actually, there might be 2 different about buttons, depending on there's like a responsive view. Okay. Anyways, so let's try that again back the way I had it before. So page 2, good. Let's refresh the page, go back home. Now if I click on home here again, and I click on about, yep, that takes us to this, which is not what it should do. Shouldn't treat the whole thing like a query. Okay, so I got it working. It was apparently what we need to do is we have to put this little colon here in front of 2 for it to work, which I was forgetting to do. So if you're going to pass in an object, you got to add this colon here. So now it works. So now if I click on about, see it goes to page 2, and if I go to home, I can see that in the route, the query object has hello world. Okay, so that's how you send data down via a route. So if you're using router, that's how you would send it down. Okay, so again, props when it's a direct child, so like from app to header, query when it's a router child. Now the bigger question always is, how do you send data up? How would I send data from header to app or from home to app? Okay, so let's do both. So in header, what you have to do is you have to emit an event. So let's just like add a button. Okay, there's this login button, so we'll just use that. First we have to add a method. So we're going to add a method object. So methods. Okay, and that's going to be an object of methods, and we're just going to say test. And that's going to equal a function. And the function has to emit an event. This dot emit. And we'll just call the event test. And then the second we can send some information. So we'll send the number 5. Okay. So there we go. We sent a little event that's going to bubble up with the number 5. Okay. And now on app, we can listen for that event. So on header, we'll put a listener for that event by the name we just gave it. So we said that event was called test. So it'd be at test. And then we have to give it a function. So we'll just say handle event will be the name of the function, and that function gets passed the data from that event, that 5, which we'll just say is called event. And actually I think it's going to be $event. Okay, and then let's just test this out. So let's go to our instance thing here, create another methods property. And we'll just create handle event, handle test function. Okay, the event. Okay, and then we're going to console.log the event, just making sure we're getting the data we think we're getting. What does it look like here? Oh, I put a period instead of a comma. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to header, and we're going to click the login button, which should trigger the event. So console. So I'm going to click on login. It should trigger the event. Our app component will hear the event, and then console log the information. So, oh, okay. So that didn't get caught 100. What we did actually add? Oh, I see. This is not spelled right. Handle event, and this should be handle test. So that way they match. Handle test, handle test. There we go. So let's try this again. Refresh. Let's go back to the main page. Refresh. I click login. Okay. Nothing. Okay. So first let's just see this function's even running. Console.log. Hello. Okay, so handle test is the function that should run when this test event occurs. Handle test event. Let's go back to header. And we emitted an event called test, so that should bubble up, get heard, and then this should run that function. Okay. Wait a second. Let me go back to header. How did we set up that button? I don't think we ever made the button clickable. Login. No, we did not. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so we need to make this button event trigger on a click, and when a click happens, it's going to run, what do we call it? Test. There we go. So when this login button gets clicked, it's going to run the function test. The function test is going to emit the event. Then in our app component, it listens for the event test, and then runs this function handle test, etc. Okay. So let's try this again. Log in, and it works. See, there we go. We got hello. We got 5. So that's how you would send information up. Problem is, how would I listen for an event from home? Because home is not rendered in app. So see, in apps template, there's no home, because home, page 2, all gets rendered by router view. Okay, so how would we catch that event? Well, let's first create the event. So let's go to our views. Okay, and we'll just create a button. Click me. And we'll create a method. And we'll call this home. And again, this will emit. And it's going to emit an event called home, and we'll send the Boolean true. Okay, so that's what we're going to send up. You can send the whole object, you can send an array of data, you can send whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to send that up, and then we're going to put this as a click event on this. So at click equals home, and then app will listen to that, but the way it listens to it is on router view. So router view has to listen to the event because there is no home component there for me to listen to. So router views, we listen for events from router view. So I'm looking for the at home event, and then we'll have to do something with it. So we'll just say handle home $event, because we got to pass the event object in there. Okay. And I'm not 100% sure if the $sign matters. I think it does, because I think we're referring to a specific property that's just kind of floating around in the instance that, but here we go. So back to methods. Handle home function, the event, and here's just the function definition, so the $sign doesn't matter. It's just that object is being passed in as event. So we'll just, again, console.log event. So we can see that we are receiving that event. Just make sure that over here it's passed in. Good. So let's try it out. So now see, there's this button, click me, that's coming from the home component. I click it, and see, we received true. Okay, so that's the way you send data up the component tree. So that's one of the major challenges when it comes to creating component-based websites with Vue, React, Angular. Is always trying to think, how do I send data up and down? Think of it as like running up and down a set of stairs. It's not like an elevator. I can't skip floors. Okay, that's when you bring in something for state management. Like for Vue, it's Vuex. For React, Redux is used. You could actually technically use Redux for Vue too. You could use Redux for a non-framework project. Redux is framework agnostic. Um, but okay, that that is the deal here. Okay. So if you want an elevator of data, you need to use a library like Vuex or Redux. If you don't use Vuex Redux, it's more like walking up and down stairs. Data can only move up one level, down one level. I can't get to floor 2 without having walked by floor, if I'm on floor 5, I can't walk down the floor 2 without having walked down floors 4, 3, etc. Okay, so it can get a little tedious to pass the information from component to component, but that is sort of part that is part of the cost of the awesome benefit of encapsulation that this type of architecture gives you. So hopefully you guys found that interesting and useful. My name's Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.